Council work session for February 22nd, 2022 to order. We have everybody here. And we'll start with the council agenda for the 24th of February. Now, obviously, we call to order. We have a roll call, invocation, pledge of allegiance, acceptance of the agenda, and the city manager report. Chuck, is there anything you want to talk about today?
Well, I will be talking a little bit about the local economy and sharing some data with you, and I can do that at the meeting as well, but probably fits in better with the mid-year budget, Mr. Mayor, so.
Okay, so you going to present it now, or you going to wait till we do the budget?
I'll wait for that.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Paduchik? All right, then we'll have awards and presentations for the financial reporting as well as the budget presentation. Under new business, we have the possible action of the city council approving the city minutes. Is everybody hopefully has a chance to look at the minutes and any additions, completions, questions, discussion, corrections? Okay. And the only really work item there is the possible resolution to adopt the revised 2020 classification compensation plan, i.e. the pay in a 2-year with a 2% shift. And that's going to be presented by who?
Ms. Fleming is going to.
Ms. Fleming.
Come on up.
He's like, nope.
Come on.
My turn already?
Like, nope.
I don't think you're registered.
Barbara?
First, the only one. It's your night.
You get to do this Thursday night too, just to let you know.
Yes, sir. So I'll give you a rundown today, and I'll do that again on Thursday. All right. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We have got before you today a potential resolution to do a mid-year, and not exactly mid-year, but would be effective in March. This would be a 2% cost of living adjustment to our current class and comp plan. As I think we're all aware, as we walk into the retail stores and see on the news and stuff, wages are going up, and in order to attract and retain employees, a lot of places have increased their wages. With some real need out there in our CCOM areas, and knowing that we had the budget thing coming up, we did a deep dive into the cities and counties within the state of Arizona right during the holiday season and continued into January to see where we were at as far as the market data goes in the class and comp. And we do see that we are slipping a little bit further behind. So looking at that, figuring that as we go forward in this budget season and looking for the July 1 budget of next year, thinking that this would, get us caught up a little bit in this small shift here, and then wouldn't have as large of an impact in July 1. And again, bring us, a little bit closer to, we're hitting at the 95 in most areas and even some below, but nothing really above that in the 95 percentile. So this is what we have recommended today. The proposed mid-year 2% would take us till the end of June, which would be into the new budget year. The approximate cost is going to be $212,000 for full-time staff, $9,000 for part-time staff, for a total of $221,000 for the last quarter of this fiscal year 22. And we've then also attached the actual class and comp, which would be adjusting. And again, this would be a cost of living, cost of labor adjustment, not the step adjustment. So it adjusts the entire spread there. And that proposal is attached for you. And I'll be happy to answer any questions, any specifics on market data or anything else
When
that you
you
may
say
have.
95%, you're talking salary and the compensation is 95% of the market. Is that right?
Correct. We are sitting now at 95% or below.
So we're just bringing it up to market average.
This
Well,
is
eventually
a
we'll bring it
step
up to
towards
market
bringing us up, and then we would propose another one for the July 22 budget year. This is just basically a intermediate step to get us a little bit closer in this year.
Okay, Mr. Patucci, did you want to say something?
Yeah, Mayor Mueller, members of the council, this is, again, what we're proposing as an interim step, and of course, the mid-year financial report will indicate to you that the funding is certainly available to be able to do this. The $220,000 is across all funds for the rest of this fiscal year, so if you're looking at a full year, basically, 2% would be about a $900,000 impact. So we will update again the market survey for the budget, and we'll be having a personnel session regarding the budget here upcoming, probably in another month or so. And at that point, we'll be able to identify the costs associated with personnel and bringing that up. So what's important to recognize is that this is going to be baked into next year's budget, and we're probably looking at another 4% market shift plus 2% step increase in July. And it's our hope, based on what Barbara finds in the market survey, that we're somewhat closer to 100% of market at that point with our peers around the state. So that's our hope, and that's the reason we want to do that now. Take a little bite now, and then see what that impact is on the full budget next year. And we may even propose another mid-year adjustment if we're a little bit short next year. But we'll have that in the budget, which will then preclude the need to have a council action like the one we're proposing here today.
And, well, let me just make a comment and we'll go. The folks should know that the reason we try to stay at least at 100% of the average for the state is so that we can hire competitively and get the people that are enough quality to be able to function as a staff in a city. Yes, sir.
What percentage would it take to get our staff up to 100%? You propose 2%. What would that take? 3.5, 2?
Well, Councilmember Johnson, Mayor Mueller, as Barbara mentioned, we're around 95% on an average across the board. This won't bring us to 100, so it's my hope, depending on what the other cities and counties do that we compare ourselves to, that the 4 plus 2% that we're doing in July would get us right up at around 100%. So that would be the goal. So,
And of course, there's inflation too there, so.
It's a very tough environment. Some of the economic numbers I'll be going over with you guys as part of the mid-year budget will, paint a better picture of that. But we're certainly in a situation where we're having trouble competing even locally with retailers, and that kind of thing, at the lower end of the scale right now. So
It's not only hiring, but it's retention as well, and that's important.
yeah, I sat in a meeting at our conference a few weeks ago. My colleague from Mesa, who was talking about pay. We were talking about pay and retention and all that. He's recently taken 5 of our employees to the city of Mesa. So that's what we're competing with. So.
Barbara, I just have a quick question. When you're doing the market survey and study, are we finding other cities in Arizona are going above and beyond the 100% to retain their employees, or is everyone pretty much trying to stay at the market?
You really have a mix out there right now. It's such a very competitive market, different situations and different critical needs. I can't, due to what I'm seeing as being an extreme mix of where everybody's landing right now, can't answer that. I'm going to hope to be able to answer that here as we move forward in the budget process, because part of what I'm getting right now is there's a lot of undecided and unknowns as we're all starting the budget process for the next fiscal year, as most all of us run the same budget year with the July 1, is that everybody's got a pencil to this. what I can tell you is that I don't think that there's really many out there, if any at all, that are not facing increases this year. And some of these, the increases are going to be significant to get them at the 100%.
I see.
Others, as we've seen, as Chuck just talked about the situation with his colleagues and some of the ones that are coming into town and they're recruiting, and not just here, but they're recruiting a few others, I'm going to call them by name, but they're absolutely offering things that are above and beyond the 100% situation, which is, making it a little bit difficult and a little bit challenging. But, to give you an idea, I got 17 that responded on, are you doing any mid-year adjustments? And do you already know what your percentage you're going to be proposing for the coming year? And so out of the 17 that responded to that, 8 of those are currently going through a formal class and comp because they have determined that their class and comp is not satisfactory at this point in time. So they're either already in the process or they've already got a consultant scheduled for some time within this calendar year to do those. Okay. 6 of those are expecting to implement COLA in 2023. There's more than 6 that are doing that. Sorry, 6 are already come up with the amount that they're expecting to present. The average there is 4%, being the average of only those 6. 5 have already implemented mid-year cost of living increases in January. And 11 have determined that they will be presenting forward cost of living market shift adjustments for their July budget, but there has been no percentage. Either they couldn't share that percentage or they have not determined that percentage. So that's kind of where we're standing on what we do know there. So it's going to probably be a little bit closer to budget time before we get more responses and a little bit better numbers for y'all to know exactly where we're going to sit in this market situation.
Okay. And I just have a comment.
Go ahead.
And to follow up on that. And thank you for that, Barbara. My only comment is just I would like us to, as a council and as staff, I think I probably talk about this too much, but I think we have a fantastic staff and I don't want to see them leaving and going to other cities. So just us as a body to be mindful that we're not doing kind of token raises to say that we've done them, but stuff that's significant enough that our employees don't feel like they need to be looking or be kind of taken away from us by other cities. So that's all I have.
Will?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we have a cost analysis or a market analysis for police and fire non-exempt that shows an average in the state to see where we are as far as being competitive in those 2 categories?
We do, and we are sitting approximately at the 95 percentile.
Okay, the
in
same.
police,
Okay.
yes.
And on Councilman Johnson's question, I'd actually like to see if we went to 4% this midterm, how much that would affect us, Chuck. I know another 900,000, but would that be hard to pull off, or was that pushing the
Do a
boat?
4%
Or
market adjustment now. Well, I mean, double the
Double the
current
number.
number. Or, if we did 4 now, we may not have to do as much in July, but, of course, we have to wait for those numbers to come in. Financially, given our current situation, yes, we can do that.
okay,
So,
thanks. Chuck. My concern, I guess, is the
Do you
same as
support
what
that
Rachel
amendment?
brought up. Is I think we have an excellent staff, we have excellent fire and police, and losing any of them is losing a culture that we have already established. It's something that we have going good. So I'd like to really, as council, and of course you, Mr. Mayor, think of what we can do on our side of the house to keep that retention and keep people wanting to come back. So,
Well, I think I want to share with you, I think the numbers will probably bear me out on this, is if you look at police and fire in particular, our challenge right now is replacing folks that are retiring.
yes, sir.
They're not jumping to other departments. And I'm not sure that what you're proposing here, which is an additional 2%, is going to have an impact, especially since it's only from now until the next fiscal year.
Roger.
I'm not sure it's going to have the intended effect, is what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
saying.
Makes sense.
Chuck?
yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council, we're in a situation now, and the problem is really across the board. So, I mean, police, we have the issue now where we're competing with DPS and valley cities that are giving out hiring bonuses and those kind of things. And, of course, that makes it tough. And, I wish I could sit here and say, gosh, we can compete with Phoenix and Mesa all day long, till the cows come home, but we can't. We're never going to be able to keep up that kind of pace, but we do really need to keep up the pace with the Flagstaffs, Yumas, Havasus, Casa Grandes, of the world. We really, those are our kind of our peers more in rural areas. We have lifestyle advantages, and we have to try to, appeal to that in our hiring. So we kind of have to focus more on those kind of things, lower cost of living and the quality of life and that kind of thing to hire, so we get people that want to be here. Cost wise, if we try to get in a race with Phoenix, we're not going to win that race. We just don't have the resources that they do there. So, but I at least would like to see us make sure we compete, with our peers around the state. I think that's pretty important.
Anybody else? Yes, sir, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Ms. Barber, so the market survey, is that just based off, what are the factors? Is it just population only, or do you consider call volume, numbers of staff, language, pay, incentives, things like that? What is all included in your market survey?
So we do individual job positions. And so what we do is we look for comparisons of the most comparable jobs. Okay, so we have what's called like a JDQ and a JEM that was implemented with the class and comp study some years back, and we look at the data of those specific positions, and then the city compares that to theirs and lets us know what's different about it. Is it a higher, lower, or equivalent responsibility and stuff? So we do look at those on an individual basis. The other thing we do is that we take the actual market. So let's say that we get data from the city of Phoenix. Okay? Theirs is not going to be quite comparable to ours, so we adjust those figures based on cost of labor. So the federal government runs cost of labor and cost of living numbers, and so we use the cost of labor adjustment, and we adjust up or down the percentage of that accordingly to that, and so that we would be more comparable based again on cost of labor in Sierra Vista is not going to be as much as say Queen Creek or the city of Phoenix and things like that. We get those as close as possible, and we try to get a minimum number of close matches. And we have a good relationship with a lot of what our closest mirrored cities are, so population, cost of living, and things like that. And we generally are always able to get their data from them, and we provide ours to them for the same thing. Two-way street. We all need that kind of data to stay market competitive. And so we use the cities that are most comparable to us. There's times when we can't even use in those cities. We're going to have to go out a little bit further into the market because we don't always have identical positions as you're speaking of. And we want to get the most comparable comps as possible. So we may have to stretch that a little bit further.
Okay.
Did that get
yes,
to
thank
what you were looking for?
Yes, thank you. The other thing is, obviously, I see what Councilman Benning talked about, 4%. It'd be, that math is easy. It'd be doubling whatever the thing is, but we could just see something that's like 2, 3, 4%, just a breakout of what that looks like, just so we know like what the difference is when it comes to the overall number. Obviously, we got to do something as soon as possible. It's not, hey, it's just because everybody else is doing it. Like Mayor Pro Tem Sem said, it's important to all of us up here that we want to keep our people, whatever we can do. And and I know, like you said, Mayor, it's only going to become effect in March, and then it's only until the new fiscal year. But I definitely know there's some people that are definitely on the fence about staying or leaving our city because they just want to do what's best for their family. So whatever we can do quickly and not, belabor the situation, I think is what we need to do. Yes.
Really, we're talking a total of 6% in a very short time. And that should be a lot to alleviate some of the concerns that those folks had. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, by what we're talking, I wanted to clarify what we're talking about by to the end of the fiscal year is the amount you're given is for the last quarter of the year. So the shift in the adjustments in salary would carry through. It would automatically be added to our costs for next fiscal year. So it's not that they would only be getting a certain percentage for a couple of months and then they'd go back. So I just wanted to clarify that.
And just, I guess, and also, sorry, my last thing is
no,
just.
go ahead.
Like we're talking, we're proposing the 2% and 4%, that as well, like what that looks like between now and the next year, just so that number is there, so that's maybe something to look forward to if that's gonna make you or break you or affect your decision when it comes to your job search or remaining where you're at. I think it'd be something that's some good information to put out. That's all I have.
I don't
Well,
disagree with that.
wouldn't it be safe to say that if we proposed as a council, instead of a 2% market shift to go to a 4% market shift for the final quarter, that it would be affected by 221 times 2, right?
Yeah.
So, and as you said earlier, Chuck, perhaps we wouldn't have to be nearly as concerned for the following fiscal year.
It'd be that for the last quarter.
Right.
But then it'd be the 900,000 for the next fiscal year, which I'm fine, well, 1.8, excuse me, but, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Well, Mayor Mueller and members of the council, as you know, I'm always very conservative when it comes to the budget. So, you know, and this is the first time we've ever actually entertained a discussion like this, as far as I know, in the history of the
There's
history of
one
the
time we've
city.
been in a position to be able to do that.
Yeah, so, you know, I always like to have more data to look at than less. You know, the numbers you're gonna see are you know, very good here for the mid-year budget. So I can say with confidence that, yes, we can afford to go to 4. You know, I'd like to continue to see the revenue numbers as they, you know, have been coming in, particularly for sales tax and state shared revenue, you know, before making a commitment in terms of what the July numbers are going to look like yet. But you know, we can safely go to 4. I think this, you know, right now, we have to balance out the needs of the employees and the market vis-a-vis the budget, so.
That's great.
I just have a couple of more, really not questions, but comments. I also, while I want to do something significant and something that's beneficial to our employees, I also don't want to put us in a position where, as times get lean again, we're in bad shape and cannot continue to take care of our employees. And I know we went through, during the recession, I don't know how many years, Chuck, where we weren't able to give raises at all to people, and I don't want to put us in that position. So that's just food for thought. But I also wanted to just talk about, and I know, Barbara, that you already are thinking this and look at this, but being able to sell the city, it's not always about money. You know, I know if all my decisions about employment and the things that I've done in my life were about money, you know, I would have been in other places, but it's not. It's about the beauty and living in Sierra Vista, and this is home. So just like highlighting the affordability, the third most housing affordable city in, I think, the United States, at our thing, and looking at the culture of our city and the morale of our working for the city and the quality of life amenities. So I just want us to all, as a body, also continue to think about that. It's not always just about money. It's about all these other things that we have to think about. And being, I agree with Chuck, in being conservative, fair, significant, but also being conservative, that we don't put ourselves in a bad spot 5 years from now.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. And Judy's team, Victoria, and I have been meeting on that. And one thing we've done to the recruitment area of the website is we've come on and we've put in the cost charts and stuff like that to let people know, as well as, really good highlights for the reasons that we're here. We're also starting some programs, where we're going to be doing some social media advertisement and stuff of people talking about why they're here. Because many of us are here because we want to be here. We're here because we actually love Sierra Vista, and, while it's obviously important for us to have a livable wage and a market wage and stuff like that, there's a whole lot that we have to offer. Of small town things. And so we have, again, Judy and her team have been working on that, just enhancing that a lot. And the reason for those enhancements is, again, to draw a lot of focus in that direction as well. So we're kind of taking this as a multi-prong approach on ways that we can enhance, the recruitment of it, because it is challenging out there. And people need to make decisions, and we want to get everything that we have to offer, which we feel like is a lot that we have to offer, out there in front of people as much as possible. So that's rolling out now, and any of us would certainly, if you have ideas or suggestions on ways that, we could continue to enhance that. But we're absolutely rolling with that. In fact, I think they're doing some photo shoots over at PD this afternoon. We're starting to interview people, veterans that may work for the city, because that's a market that we can come into. Why are they here at the city? What do they love about being here at the city? Why did they choose to stay in Sierra Vista? Because many of those came through and they've decided to make this home. We've done numerous oral boards where that's the case, and oral boards meaning that they are for a police officer. Where that's the case, they landed through here and they want to stay here and stuff. And we certainly want to be able to get those recruits and stuff. And offering a competitive salary doesn't have to be necessarily, the very top, but the competitive salary and what just Sierra Vista has to offer for them, and the benefit package that we still offer is amongst the best. We just went through the review on our medical, and we are the top plan in the state for cities. And, I think that that's huge for us, and we're going to try to maintain that spot there, because it's very, very important. And being self-insured and having some real responsible employees and really cutting back our ER use and stuff like that has saved that plan a lot of money. Using generics every time we can, and plan doctors to get the discount. A lot of things that all of us as employees, it's all of our plans, everything we do together collectively helps all of us, helps that. And, really good to see the plans, Blue Cross Blue Shield and Maribin and our consultants come in and tell us again we're running the top plan in the state. That's also something we should, really be putting out there to the recruits, and we are. We're really talking about the insurance and the benefits and the dependent cost that is far less than it can be in some other places, as ways to let them know your cost. It's not always about the number you see on the screen, but you take that dependent coverage cost and you lower that, and you see, hey, you might be getting 20% more than that, but your cost with your housing and the cost of living and insurance really going to be 31% different. And really working towards those areas with the recruits and retention as well, both incoming and retention.
Okay, I just want to say that, you got other comments?
Just real quick.
I'm ready to sum up.
Yes, sir. Just real quick. On top of salary, I know we've been talking about salary, and you make a great point. I'd also I know in the Army, growing up in the Army, the three things that soldiers care about was time, money, and food. We can't give people food, but if we look at time also, maybe 0.5 more PTO hours per paycheck or per month. Another compensation or another way we can give back also is that same, lower premiums, et cetera. So anything we can do, and I appreciate y'all looking at it all the time.
And I appreciate the feedback. And I'll tell you, so we brought forward the some changes with the PTO, and we increased when they could get it because it seemed to be a big deal at hiring in. And I'll tell you that we've got real good feedback on that. We will continue to look at that and continue to look at, where the feedback comes from, what is important to them. And you're absolutely right, and we are taking notes. We're taking notes in entry and in exit and looking at what we can do. And that may be something that we're absolutely bringing forward again in the future is in that type of benefits. We're trying to look at everything possible. But again, I do appreciate all the feedback and stuff because it gives us ideas of where we need to go and what we need to do. Because we want to be as attractive as possible. I think as attractive as we deserve to be, because it's, a really great place to live and it's a really great place to work. It's not going to meet everyone, though, but we need to attract all those that it's going to and retain those that are happy to be here and want to be here. And by being market competitive, that will help. It won't give them the incentive to leave.
Mr. Patucci.
Well, I think Mr. Johnson.
So I just have a question. So without a suggestion that we go to 3 or 4%, are we stuck with this for our city council meeting on Thursday at 2%?
Well, that's what I was gonna get to. That's what I was gonna
Oh,
summarize.
okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Mr. Patucci, do you have
Just
something
wanted,
else?
wanted to make one more comment, Mr. Mayor, and then we can discuss how you go about this. But, getting back to Mayor Pro Tem Gray's comments, inevitably there will be another economic downturn. Been through 3 or 4 of them now here, and they do happen. And some are more severe than others, but we've been able to weather the storm by hiring good employees first, highly qualified employees, keeping our numbers lean. Sometimes the departments don't like to hear that, but that's pretty important in weathering a downturn, and then investing in training and then technology and productivity improvements. And those are the ways that we can keep a competitive edge and weather downturns. So we've been doing that for a number of years, but here we're at a point where we're definitely looking at, some competitive problems with regards to salary, and I think it's time to do something about it.
Okay, based on discussion, since we can't vote in this forum, what I would recommend is that on Thursday, the proposal stays as it is. If we want to make an amendment to include the 4% for the last 3 months of the year, that needs to be made. We need to see the numbers for that, Chuck, so we can be able to make a decision. So that amendment would be made, and basically what we're talking about is, since we would go the first of the fiscal year, we would go up a total of 6% anyway, if that's what we're going to vote in the budget. This would just basically give an additional 3 months pay at the 4%, or an additional 2% rather, to those folks. So that's the way I see this proceeding, so that whoever's in that camp needs to be able to make that amendment when the time comes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I'm sure once the amendment is there, we'll have an additional discussion.
They're always fun.
Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank y'all. Thank you.
Okay, that, after call to the public and comments and requests of council, that concludes the agenda for the 24th. Next up, what we've all been waiting for is a mid-year budget review.
Here we go.
And I just mentioned we have, again, thank our award-winning finance department for presenting that to us.
Mayor, members of council, it's nice to be able to continue to give good news after so much of my career having to give not as bright news.
Just page down.
All right. So, overall, we're doing very well. Again, as the joke is, we have to thank Tucson for shutting down and continuing to have people shop in town versus go up there. General fund revenues over expenditures are $5.1 million to the good. Revenues are $1 million over budget, and expenditures are $4.1 million below budget. The key points to the revenue side, and understand that the revenues do include the full year, the grant revenue we received from the stimulus funds. The $3.1 million has already come to us, so that is already in the books. If we were to annualize that, we should have only had half of that, but even annualizing that, we are well above revenues over expenditures, and even taking that out, we're still over $1 million revenue over expenditures so far for this year. Key points to that are that one. Second, local sales taxes are 17% over budget in the general fund. Remember that when you see the report that shows them higher than that over the fiscal year and over the prior year, over the budget, that's because you've got that half cent for some of the taxes going to the capital improvements fund. So overall taxes are up 24%, but the general fund portion is 17% up over budget. Also, as you may remember, the census was a little delayed this year, and we're working with the numbers from the 2020 fiscal year that had the CEGO missing the 1,000-plus population. So we have the population correction that was included, and that went into effect in September. We did not have any numbers until September, and so the corrections from the state started in with the September distributions. So that is part of the reason, for instance, why the urban revenue sharing is up over budget, because during the budget process, we had to go with the numbers we had at the time, which were the incorrect numbers, the incorrect split numbers. And also state sales tax is up 25% over last fiscal year, over the budget. But again, that is partially due to their being over budget, better than budgeted, and also because of that population distribution correction. Personnel expenditures are 1.6 million under budget. Now, this is not necessarily a good thing, as we can thank the police department for a majority of this. Of course, we'd all like to have those 7 vacant police officer positions filled. That is the biggest department that is under budget due to staffing and manpower. And that is under budget, even having to have the poor officers work the extra hours to cover the shifts.
David, I just want to point out too that we budget for all positions, and obviously if there's a vacant position anywhere, that salary isn't being paid.
That's
So,
correct.
Okay.
And it's, we budget,
Number.
yes. And so when somebody leaves during the year, the time it takes to fill the position, that money still sits in the budget as well. So, and we did make this fiscal year, as in the prior fiscal year, we did write a check to PSPRS for the full budgeted amount. Over $5 million was sent in the first week of July. Although that expenditure does process through the system normally, with each payroll is when the actual expenditures hit the system. So we'll go into the PSPRS more during the budget, the personnel budget meeting. We're going to give a full presentation of where we're at, how they figure some of the numbers. There's actually good news on that front as well for us. Capital expenditures are about 1.8 million under budget, but that's due to the timing of the work, when vehicles may arrive, if they're going to arrive, grant projects getting going. We do budget the whole project. For instance, the Rothery Center project for the sports fields and all of that is a $3 million project. We put the whole budget in, hoping it will get going early, and due to the current budget laws, that will, in case we do get going early and we get a good move on it, but that project hasn't started, so that's another part of the reason why we're under budget, things like that. So
let me ask another question here, that it may not be you, David. You mentioned vehicles. We all know that our dealerships in town are having challenges, to say the least, with vehicles. Where do we stand on the vehicles and replacement vehicles that we've ordered? We have any expectations or answers as to whether they're coming in or not? Or
some are.
Some are?
Some are. We do have some of the police vehicles did come in. The ones we ordered 2 years ago
Yeah.
are finally here and getting outfitted. Other than that, it's kind of on the hit or miss. We did get going early in the window. We got a jump on the vehicle order this year to try and get them in. We do have some that we know we're trying to correct. Shouldn't say correct.
I guess the most important question is, are there any public safety vehicles or health and safety vehicles, to include sewer repair things, et cetera, that are going to impede the safe operation of the city? That's really the question.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to say some. I'm not going to say all. I don't think they'll all be here by the end of the fiscal year.
But we're still going to be able to operate safely and effectively with the old ones.
Yes.
Okay.
We're fine. We'll have to carry those vehicles
A little
over and then add the next year vehicle allocation to that. And I think it's just gonna be, and that's the way it's been, is they're just gonna show up, at different times, and, and it's not only the vehicle itself, but it's the equipment that goes into outfitting a police or fire vehicle and that kind of thing as well.
Okay.
So,
And that's pretty much it for the mid-year financial review. We are fortunately doing very well. And hopefully this will continue for an indefinite amount of time. We know it won't. So at some point, we will see a downturn. That's normal, but being able to take care of things while we can is great. Be happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Questions for Mr. Felix? You're not gonna let him get off easy, are you guys?
He's on
Okay.
So I actually,
Yeah, go ahead.
it. Got one.
I do have one, and I apologize. I had to obviously step out for a second. On the revenue, the transaction sales tax, that being 17.4 ahead, and you probably said it again, I wasn't sitting in here. What percentage of that is due to the Wayfair Act, and then what is the percentage due to local sales tax?
That's actually, although it sounds like a simple number, it is not.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example why. You've got big box stores like Walmart, Target, that prior to the Wayfair Act, they still had to remit our local sales tax. So they would remit it as retail sales. Now, instead of remitting it under the retail classification, they have to remit it under the internet sales classification. So the retail numbers I do put in the sales tax report, those internet sales, some of that is actually a shift from retail sales. How much? Don't know, because you don't know if it's something Walmart would normally carry, you go in and get, versus I really don't want to go there, I'm just going to go online and do it.
Okay. Do you know, just to try to help me understand what you're saying a little bit more, so like when I do online local pickup, is that going under online sales, or is that being considered? Is that part of the shift over, or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So the state, we really just have no way of extrapolating.
Not an exact number. You'd have to try and go through every single store in town that reports. And even then, like you say, Walmart, what is it that they would normally carry in the store that you could get versus something you'd have to order online that they don't normally carry in the store?
Home Depot.
Okay, so I understand that then, and then, but we are seeing quite an increase.
Yes,
due to
we're
online
seeing
sales.
$60,000 to $80,000 a month
In
under the
online
retail, under the internet classification.
But some of that is a shift.
Some of that would be a shift, yes.
Okay, but a big
I
bulk
believe a
of it
greater
is-
portion of it is new.
Okay, thank you, David.
Anybody else? Chuck?
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I mentioned I wanted to share a little bit of economic information with you as part of the mid-year budget review. As you know, we're in the process of starting the budget for fiscal '23. And of course, the economy plays a big part of that, and certainly the way we have come through the COVID situation, pandemic, has been amazing, and certainly I've never seen anything like this. I'm old enough to have experienced the stagflation years of the late '70s, which was a tough economic time, and I've seen some correlations, now that, cause me to be a little bit concerned in the future. National economics are affecting us as well. And certainly when we have people spending money, our sales tax collections are up, things look good, but when you're talking about 7.5%, 8%, 9% inflation, that at some point has to take a toll on the performance of the economy. Things cost more. People can't afford to get into housing or buy the things they want to, even though it appears like they are right now. So we do need to keep that in mind. That being said, I had Tony compile some numbers for me I just wanted to share, which will factor into our revenue projections. Right now, from the Office of Economic Opportunity for Arizona, the Cochise County unemployment rate is 3.8%, which is under the U.S. average of 3.9, and Arizona's at 4.1. So usually it's kind of the other way around. Usually Cochise County unemployment rate is higher. That's obviously a very low number. Sierra Vista's is at 2.1%. And that's comparable to cities like Oro Valley and Prescott, two of our peers that are at 2.1 and 2.5%. So the raw number of unemployed people, and again, this doesn't count people that don't want to work or have fallen out of the workplace, is only 409 people in town, and 1,480 across Cochise County. Arizona at Work posted the job postings. So we're in a low unemployment environment. We have 838 jobs currently advertised in and around Sierra Vista and the county. The heavy preponderance of that is in healthcare and medical, IT and cyber, meaning our government and contract positions, and 132 in education, and of course the rest in retail, service industries, and then municipal government, and county government and that kind of thing. So, but most are in healthcare, government and contracting and education. So, the issue that we're having is an issue that we simply do not have the population or the people to support the job openings that we have. Otherwise, the unemployment rate could theoretically go to zero here if that was the case. So there are jobs available, not many jobs to fill them, and then even if there were, we are woefully lacking in housing to support those people and the types of housing that they need for young professionals. We do have people moving into town. They are mostly retirees, and certainly we welcome them. And we're getting a lot of the work from home type of folks too. So they're bringing their job with them when they come here. But we're not bringing in the people we need to fill the jobs that we have here. So I've been talking with our economic development team, and we really need to spend more time marketing Sierra Vista, and a lot of this gets to what Barbara was talking about in terms of the quality of life here, the relatively lower cost of living, just the advantages of being in a place like Sierra Vista, as opposed to being in the large metro area. So we're probably looking at an increase in marketing budget, for these purposes, so we can appeal to people, because we really need population, and we need the workforce here that is able to construct homes. Homes are being built in town, not nearly fast enough, because we're seeing housing prices go up. Supply isn't there to meet demand, so it's just that simple. So we really need to have a focus there on bringing people to town and hopefully being able to address some of these needs. And when you're talking 167 healthcare jobs, that's pretty important impact on the community, and those jobs need to be filled. So I just wanted to share that with you, and a lot of this will go into our thinking for next year's budget as well.
So that's the good news.
Well, I mean, financially things are great, and people are shopping and doing good stuff, and all of that is good. We just have needs in the community that need to be.
Long-term goals we need to address. Is
Yes.
what you're telling us. I didn't mean to be flippant.
No, that's okay. But I thought it was important to share that information with you all. So,
Anything else for Mr. Felix? Okay, thank you, Mr. Felix. That concludes our mid-year budget review. Next is a report on recent trips and meetings, etc. We did have an Upper San Pedro partnership meeting. It was basically a one agenda item meeting, and we talked about some. I guess the Bureau of Reclamation kind of redid some of their grant processes, so they went through that. So we're going to be looking at potentially participating with BLM to help get some of our projects, or BOR, to help getting our projects done. We talked about, last time, I think it was last time, the meeting I went to with the League of Cities and Towns and some of the bills that were being introduced. I talked about a bill, that was supposed to help with housing. And that had some horrendous things attached to it. Well, it appears that bill has been successfully killed. So that's a good thing for that bill, but we still need to look at housing in our future discussions and quality of housing.
Mayor, I have a question on that. In the meeting, did they talk about, well, is there concern that any of those components will be put in striker bills or anything?
Right now, no.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
But you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you're aware. I did also attend a SADA meeting, Southern Arizona Defense Alliance meeting with the new chairman of the Huachuca 50. And of course, it had the Yuma 50 and the Davis-Monthan group there, as well as the SADA group. And they're kind of regenerating after COVID. And they want to become more active, but that's the one area, at least in Southern Arizona, where all of the defense support groups get together and talk about issues and bills, and they did have some representation from the Congresswoman's office and Senator Kelly's office sitting there as we were discussing and getting reacquainted with one another and what the priorities were. So that's basically, it was kind of a get-together meeting to see kind of where we are and where we want to go type of meeting. So, and since it was in Sierra Vista, I was there. I was invited. Normally, I don't get invited to those meetings. Anybody else have any reports on trips, future meetings, current meetings? Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This past Thursday, as chair of our local PSPRS board, for both fire and police, I attended the virtual 2022 PSPRS annual meeting and training. It was an all-day affair, and I know Barb and her staff took the time out to go through the training and hear what the PSPRS folks had to say. Now, they were very, very braggadocio about the returns on investment for this particular year, but over the long term, they're talking about maybe a 7.3% return. I think it's a little optimistic, but we'll see. But they were making some changes at the local board level. They're going to be doing additional training. They're going to do that virtually through probably YouTube or visuals like that. And I've been in contact with Barb Fleming already on this, and she did attend. And we're going to implement some of the new PSPRS changes at our next board meeting. That's all I have to say.
I just make an editorial comment. The PSPRS board always tells you the investments are doing well, especially just before the housing crash or before the electronics crash.
I know.
That eats their lunch, but that's just me.
Well, they were bragging this past fiscal year has been a 20%.
They did well. They've been doing the last couple of years. They've been doing well,
Yeah.
but you know.
Ask them what they're doing so far this year.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. But that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Greg. Anybody else? Okay. Future discussion items and council requests. Do we have anything coming up for the next couple of weeks?
Mr. Mayor, we've got
Couple
the
meetings.
6-month strategic plan update will be on your next agenda. And I will be scheduling, I mentioned last time, a legislative update after we get past the point of strikers being able to be introduced. So that'll be either the next work session or the one following.
Probably, yeah. I was going to say probably the one after that would be the good time because they're not, even though they're supposed to have ended introducing new legislation, they still got strikers and other things going on. So we just need to keep an eye on our good friends in the legislature.
Will we be discussing the Fab Avenue potential that was reported in the newspaper today?
That'll come up later. I don't know.
March 10th.
Please,
We've got
part of
that.
the
March 10th?
budget
Okay,
process.
thank you.
Yeah, we'll just, because there should be a lot of discussion on that because, there could be a lot of good options. And we just need to make sure we exploit the good ones.
Premature.
Avoid the potential
We're-
negatives. There you
Yeah,
go.
Mr. Mayor, we're envisioning, as you're aware, a phased development approach of that project. And first is street improvements on Fab and the
Well,
drainage.
the other thing is,
improvements.
I'm sure as we go down Seventh Street, somebody's gonna wanna be able to use that area for the staging area for Seventh, I would assume. So it may not be happening right away. We could certainly do the planning, but whether we do the execution or not. Well, anyway, this is for the 10th.
It'll be in
We
the,
got,
it'll be
we
in the
got a lot to
budget.
discuss.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks for stirring that up.
Want to get it going here.
Gotta read the paper.
Okay, is there anything else before the council? Thank everybody for your attention, and there's good discussion today. Meeting's adjourned.